Well, hello and welcome to PM Express. What are we talking about? Replenishing fish stock. There's a good old saying that says it's better late than never. It's something that if you are any patriotic citizen should worry you. Why is that? Just like all other industries, they don't seem to have any strong regulation. And at the moment, from afar, it looks as if you can, get a big wood, dig it out, make a canoe, pitch a spot, and then you become a fisherman. And one after the other, it seems to be a bit more fishermen than what we need. On top of that, you have all those who, stroll into our fish seas and do all their illegal fishing. And gradually, we are depleting our fish stock. It's going to be a major issue, and it's a major issue. Indeed, it's a galamsey in the marine area that we should pay attention to. Maybe this is a conversation that we should have had earlier, but like I said, it's better late than never. And so that's a conversation we're going to, and ironically, it happens to be the first day of illegal fishing, the International Day of Illegal Fishing and against illegal fishing, and also Sanitation Day. The amount of plastic we are dumping in the sea, killing the very few fish that we already have. What's the conversation in this area? It's a very intriguing, very exciting, and very frightening conversation. I am glad that it has started. My name is Anan Sakwa, the fourth Chief of the Little Republic of Akwemwe Dumasa. When I come back, I'll introduce two fine gentlemen who know a thing or two about fishing, and then I'll show you a very informative documentary. Don't go. Well, thank you very much for staying. Sitting right next to me is Nana Jojo Solomon, who is the acting president? Yeah. Acting president of the National Canoe Fishermen Council. I mean, this man will definitely know a thing or two about how it is you put your boat on the sea. Thank you very much for coming.
Welcome, man.
Great. And then I have Godfred Beidu Chibu, who's a director, monitoring, control, and surveillance, Fisheries Commission. These are men who understand what fish is about. Godfrey, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And before we go into questioning, just watch this short clip just to understand what the conversation is about.
Historically, Ghana's fishing culture has been hugely important across the West African region. It is a way of life that has sustained communities along hundreds of miles of coast, binding them with an intricate set of traditions passed down through generations, as well as providing a means of income for over 2 million Ghanaians. Fish makes up over 60% of the protein consumed in the country. The industry tripled in size between the 1960s and 1990s, but is now in a period of steep decline. Almost all of Ghana's marine fish stocks and many inland fisheries have been severely overfished, and the country is now forced to import more than half of all fish consumed.
We are hungry, we are starving, and a lot of people are suffering in our community. When you go to sea, you don't get fish. Where are you going to get the money to give it to your child? So a lot of children are suffering because of this, what has happened on the sea.
So what is causing this crisis? In the past, Ghana's relatively low population meant that fishing was essentially unregulated for small-scale fishers. But the population has doubled since the late 1980s. The numbers of both artisanal and industrial vessels have increased drastically in recent years, driving up competition and depleting fish stocks. Ghanaian coastal communities are at an unfair disadvantage in this fight for fish. In the town of Gomuafete, Kwame Accra started fishing at the age of 15, but is now struggling to make a living and support his family of 7 children.
yedmana yeyen nse saga kra yi abemu adamu emile kakre first ya abedu na ya sha asen me she pa asen sesale sentu nsama ya puduma na yi akufumun sesale first no du agasa yakwa yenye nkankrama oye eban sesa yakwa dudu ole afino so yakwa yenyan sesa yenye eban no akofum odu mi bia yakwa ebe botwele crate bele 100 sesa da mi ya yewu mi ofa na da mo pona yi na change bi ma yakwa ye twa bi ma bele crate bele 10 ma bi do sesa le na ma yi asa wo epimi na se ma fa ba sha se so kra obokopua ma fa ba no yi ndadu bia o bia.
These problems are felt throughout the community. Fishmongers like Efua Dezua and Ama Ankai are also struggling to make a living and getting further into debt in the process.
Mogwe dwumadzi bi o ha na wo kakra bi wo ha me de si ya nti motu ma ka chende okobọ bosia.
Many fishers we spoke to said that collisions at sea and the destruction of artisanal fishing gear by industrial vessels is common. Local fishers blame foreign trawlers fishing illegally within the inshore exclusion zone, the area close to shore reserved for artisanal fishers.
Those trawlers, when they come close to our territory, they used to throw away our nets. That's our small net that we used to work with them. They would draw it away and we never see them again.
Nti afibi aye kopun ma boat funu de twan boat funu wase ye bo abibia aye ka chenwa onzi unjo won fa man.
The problem is made worse by some local fishers who use illegal fishing methods to chase remaining fish as stocks collapse. The use of light, dynamite, and dangerous poisons has become widespread as traditional methods that once underpinned the fishing sector are abandoned. These measures are a quick fix solution for desperate fishers, but they are causing irreparable damage to precious remaining stocks and in some cases are dangerous to the health of consumers.
Their point of view is that it's because you have these big fishing trawlers that virtually violate the regulation that debars them from coming close and fishing in the areas preserved for artisanal fishing. Now, over the years, they've seen this thing happen, they report, they complain, nothing happens. So what has come up is that they have also devised their own illegal practices. So somehow, some have sidestepped their traditional beliefs and practices, and they have also joined the business of illegal practices. It's all geared towards making sure that they survive in the business.
Nti yes ye munda fine ampa or sep no nti se yenja ada on ta ban so won boe bia wo lot boy nya farfrum ye beja ada manzaman on ye den se ye fupu na fi se yeko na fi se yeko na ya kafa na mi bi na fi ta abefoma aya tete ekuna akoto chana free emi ofri number tefe me number comment ma nti bo so kwa ma faro mma mo so kwa manya bi na fi me ta aba no ana wo so ba faro na so ya hwa ye hu on boy nti so mbanya na se yenja ada ban so ntu kwa from wonko why the yaye kite yapu na woji adam kwa from wo se pondam.
In recent years, one of the most damaging forms of illegal fishing has been on the rise in Ghana. Saiko involves industrial trawlers that are licensed to fish for specific commercial stocks, targeting fish that artisanal fishers have traditionally depended on. This is frozen into blocks and sold illegally to local canoes at sea. This trade is highly profitable for the few involved in the saiko business, accounting for approximately 100,000 tons of fish per year. With trawlers reporting catches of less than 200 tons per year, it is likely that many engage in saiko fishing to remain competitive. This is devastating for artisanal fishers. Saiko affects many juvenile fish which have not yet had a chance to reproduce, and severely depleted stocks of sardinella and mackerel, key target species for artisanal fishes. Saiko is driving the collapse of Ghana's inshore fishery, on which fishing communities across Ghana depend, putting local economies and social stability under threat. Moreover, it floods the local market with cheap, poor quality fish, pushing down prices and the incomes of artisanal fishers. There is a clear and urgent need to protect Ghana's fish stocks and the communities that depend upon them for their livelihoods and food security. So what can be done? To resolve the problems at a local level, the focus must first turn to the industrial fleet. Too often, enforcement has targeted illegal fishing by canoe fishermen, but failed to tackle some of the highly destructive practices of the industrial fleet, such as saiko. Political leadership will be vital in ending illegal fishing and saiko, and averting an environmental, economic and social catastrophe. Action must be taken to prosecute offenders and revoke the licenses of industrial vessels that engage in these practices. Enforcement of the law against saiko should be a national priority, and strong measures must be taken against trawlers and their canoe accomplices. This would alleviate pressures on artisanal fishers, who would in turn be encouraged to comply with regulations. It is not too late to stop the decline of Ghana's fisheries and to protect the industry from highly destructive and illegal practices such as saiko. Environmental Justice Foundation (EJF) and Hianempuano, with the backing of the European Union, are ready to support the government and local communities in this fight. Working together, we can restore Ghana's fisheries and ensure that they continue to provide for future generations.
Wow. So that's the premises for our conversation. And as I introduced earlier, if I introduce again, just to give you an idea, that I have Jojo Solomon, who's the president, or the acting president, Ghana National Canoe and Fishermen Council. And then Godfrey Baidu Chibu, who's the director, Monitoring, Control and Surveillance Fisheries Commission. I think my first question is, whose fault is it? But on the phone, I have Safa Asari, who's a program on Skype. I beg your pardon. I have Safa Asari, programs officer of Hianempuano, and so he will also be joining their conversation. And I'll start with studio, and I want to start with Godfrey, since you are monitoring, control, and surveillance of fisheries corporation. How did we get here?
Thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers. Yeah, we got here because for a long time we have not been doing what is expected of us as a country. Fisheries, as represented by Jojo Solomon, has been a tradition in Ghana. Several, years, maybe 200, 300 years of fishing. Numbers of fishermen have increased over the period. We cannot lose sight of that fact. What we should have been expecting is that as time went on, then we would be ensuring that the numbers of fishermen would be reducing as we go along the line. We are dealing with a resource that is not infinite. The capacity of the sea remains the same. we cannot add, but rather we can subtract. But looking at the fact that population is increasing, the numbers of fishermen are increasing, then it means that fishermen will be getting smaller quantities of fish as time goes on. But there is an aspect from regulation. We have had the Fisheries Commission, and the Fisheries Commission's role is to manage the exploitation of the resource. So the Fisheries Commission has laws, regulations in place to ensure that those who want to, exploit the resource, would do the right thing. But the Fisheries Commission itself has had its own challenges. If you look at the coastline of Ghana, about 500 kilometers, so many landing sites. We have two main harbors, Tema and Takoradi. And we also have the inland areas, the Volta Lake. And all these places have fishermen. But the Fisheries Commission has also been had challenges with human capacity. The numbers of people who have to work in these areas over the years have continuously reduced. So our job to enforce the laws, to educate fishermen have not been adequate enough. And if we look at our law, the current primary law that we have, Act 625, it came into force in 2002. In the law, it talks about the establishment of a fisheries enforcement unit. And up until 2013, we had not been able to establish that. What the fisheries enforcement unit talks about is that we should bring on board other institutions like the Navy, like police, to join the Fisheries Commission so that we put our skills and our strengths together in these communities to enforce the fisheries laws. There is talk about the industrial fishing. Yes, there is space for industrial fishing in our waters, because even if you allow the artisanal alone, there are certain places they would never be able to fish. So industrial fishing is allowed by law. And
may I,
okay,
as a layman question,
right,
may I ask why they won't be able to fish there?
Because of
Just
depth,
too far,
and then we say artisanal because of the level of technology that they are using. So definitely we have to open that space for industrial fishing. And industrial fishing does not mean it is for foreigners, but then the equipment that you need, the vessels that you need, definitely comes with a certain capital. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come there. Let me come to Nana. Nana, I mean, it's a culture, and I wonder how it practices that. You maybe, do you keep it in the family, or is it that if I buy a boat today, can I come and find somewhere and also start fishing?
Thank you, Nana. It is both.
Okay.
Some is family, natural fact. You go to all the coastal towns and you realize that one home has a canoe that caters for everybody and it's handed down from generation to generation. Again, we have people coming from outside, people living outside the country who wants to do some kind of business and they're going to fishing. There's space for them too. So we have all manner of people engaging.
So I can buy a boat and then somebody, like a taxi, somebody running for me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what is happening.
But is there, I mean, when the numbers were exploding, I mean, you guys were on the ground. Has there ever been a meeting to say, look, guys, we are hitting our threshold, and therefore we cannot, either we increase the licenses to, elimination by rough tactics, or, bring a policy to sort of limit it? I mean, what's happening? You guys on the ground.
For me, it's a very critical question that you have asked, and we are trying to veer away from blame game, because we are all a part of the reason why we've gotten to this particular state. We, as fishers, I would say that we are academically challenged. If you go to where the non-formal sector is the fishing industry, we are now trying to educate our children to come and take over and stuff like that. That's why we always said there's an adage that says that sea never dries, sea never dries. And we're saying it, I mean, it is a household thing, right? Everybody's saying sea never dries, sea never dries. But thank God, at least we had our regulators. You understand? And the world is not static. Therefore, it should have dawned on them. You understand? Because when we engaged in fishing, like 200-300 years ago, as he rightly asserted, I mean, there was fish. There were very few fishers. So nobody even took recognition, because we were making the least impact on the resource. So it's like it was neglected a bit. But when we started increasing in size, at least we had a ministry that was established to oversee, because every natural resource is vested in the president. The president is the trustee of all natural resources for the good people of Ghana, and therefore we have a ministry responsible for that. And, I think they also kind of
neglected a bit.
Absolutely, and then we've all gotten to this stage. So, like we just saw, from the film, we all have to put our hands on deck. It's a little bit too late, but all
is not lost.
All is not lost.
Okay, let me go to Skype and speak to Cephas Asari. Cephas is a programs officer for Hen Mpuano. Hello, Cephas. Cephas, can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good, very good, very good. Cephas, you have a challenge on your hands, but I was just trying to find out, what part are you playing in this huge issue that lies ahead?
Yeah, thank you very much, and lovely evening to your viewers as well.
Great.
It's a great challenge, I would admit, but we have our part to play, and that is why we are working with Environmental Justice Foundation through the support of the European Union to secure the small-scale fisheries. And as part of the approach to do that is to work with artisanal fishermen to have their voice heard in process of making legislation, and also be able to combat IUU at the local level, because we know, as Mr. Tibu rightly said, the ministry and the agency responsible is challenged by way of human resource, and that is the part we come in as civil society and the support of our donors to work with local fishermen and begin to spot and report IUU, and also work with them to secure their tenure rights. When I talk about tenure rights, we are looking at landing sites, because those are also crucial to the small-scale fisheries. Without the landing sites, there will be nowhere to land fish. And those sites need to be recognized and protected to ensure that the fisheries also survive. So these are some of the things that we are doing to support the sector and to ensure that the small-scale fish or the fishery sector itself is sustainable.
Godfrey, I like the word sustainable, but for the sheer numbers you have now, what are you going to do? Divide them into A, B, C, D, and A will fish on Monday, B fishes on Tuesday, or give them numbers, odd and even numbers, can't fish on the same date. How are you going to regulate it?
Thank you very much. As we stand now, we cannot exclude those who are fishing from fishing, but we can put measures in place that will ensure that those who are already in the system are able to fish and have fish each time they go. And one of those measures is to have a closed season, a season that allows the fish to grow and spawn. I mean, that's to lay their egg and have a generation that will continue the fisheries. And so fishermen would have to voluntarily agree to this. For example, we could decide that we close a whole month to fishing. A month that we know that this is the time that the fish are pregnant and they can lay their eggs. This is critical to ensure that fish remains in the ocean. And also, Mr. Tinubu made mention of the industrial trawlers. Concern coming from small-scale fishing, they are in direct competition with these industrial trawlers. Does
it mean the trawlers are coming too close to shore?
In some instances, they are coming too close to shore.
Okay.
And in other instances, they are fishing for targeted species that are meant for the artisanal fishes. That is the sardine, the crop mackerels, and then the anchovies. And so, if you have this happening, you cannot have the artisanal fishermen compete with this manpower. And so, one of the measures will be to have the industrial fishers fish with the right mesh size and limit the number of bycatch they harvest, and also ensure that they do not encroach into areas that are designated for the artisanal fishermen. These are things that the ministries and civil society are working together to put in place through support of donors to make sure they work and sustain the fisheries.
Cephas, I'm going to come to you and find out about if co-management and see how you're managing that. But let me come to studio and ask Nana. It's a layman question, but I mean, if you set out to go and fish, you catch what you catch, or do you say today I'm going to catch tuna, tomorrow I'm going to catch sardine, tomorrow I want to catch tilapia? Do you target what you're going to catch, or whatever comes in your net comes in your net?
Whatever comes in your net, you capture. And then depending on type of gears, you understand, we have different type of gears. So the hook and liners definitely won't catch sardines. They will go for red snappers, grouper, they have their type of fish. But
hook and liner, as in literally hook and lining?
Yes, hook and liners. We have them.
So as you go
all the good fish you eat is from hook and liners, yeah.
I see.
Yes, and then we do piercing, and then anything that comes into the net, we capture. But basically, they are the small pelagics, like Cephas just alerted that we go in for these trawlers go in for our fish, which he mentioned as the mackerels and the anchovies and the sardinellas, which is the herrings. You understand? So
those are more for like the artisanal.
Yeah, that's for artisanal. Yes, it is reserved for us. And they are not.
How? I mean, I'm a layman, so but how is this fish for you and that? I mean, who knows where? I don't know.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, these trawlers.
Yeah.
You understand? They are licensed to do bottom trawl. And you don't find sardinellas. You don't find anchovies
at a certain depth.
At that, it's bottom trawl fish. We all know. So if you begin to land target fish, which is meant for the artisanals, you understand?
Okay.
Then
your net is a bit too
exactly.
high.
It's not. It means that you are not doing the right thing out there, because you have never been registered to do mid-water or surface trawl, unless of course I'm wrong.
Okay.
So the type of fish you land will determine the kind of activity you are engaged in out there.
But with the levels of fish now, how is it worrying for the fisher folk now?
Seriously, Master, there's no fish now, and you know, you can go on 10 expeditions without landing even one, and even if premix is free, your effort and everything, premix certainly is not free, you understand, and therefore the frustration level, if you listen to one of the speakers on the in the film, he said, look, if they don't stop, you know, it is two wrongs will never make a right. You are not justified to do wrong thing because, you know, you are frustrated because bigger vessels are capturing your fish, and you understand. But again, we all need to sit down. You know, regulators will have to, and then enforcement will have to be up and doing, and you know, we all need to do that which is right and designated for us. These vessels, they poach, they come into the 30-meter inshore exclusive zone reserved for artisanal fishes. They poach. That's why he was complaining that their gears are lost in the process. He said we cannot go beyond. It means that if our gears are being destroyed and trawled away by these vessels, it means that they come into too close where we are supposed to be fishing. And all these things have brought, you know, this kind of tension and suspicion, and you know, we need to coexist, you understand, and therefore
I mean, go for it. Can the Navy do something to say, you know, you're not allowed here?
Yeah, the laws are very clear. The laws are very clear. We have what we call the inshore exclusive zone. It is supposed to be the 30-meter contour. You know, the sea bottom, when you take measurements, 30-meter, where there is 30-meter, and you join all those 30-meter points, now you have a line which is not straight for very good reasons. So in the law, we say, okay, in places where the 30-meter is very close to shore, we limit it with distance. We say 6 nautical miles. So where the 30-meter can be very close to shore, because in that case, the trawler can come very close to shore based on the 30-meter. We say it's 6 nautical miles. So that is how the IEZ, or the inshore exclusive zone demarcation, has been done. So now, how do we monitor the trawlers so that we know that they are not fishing where they are not? We have what we call VMS, vessel monitoring.
But this all seems to be on paper, because if you look at how they are lamenting,
they are not on paper. They are being implemented. So the point of the matter is, some of the points are very close. If you say 6 nautical miles, so it means that if you are on shore, you can see the vessel, but it is within the 30-meter. So I think we need to look at the law once again. Do we push the line back a little bit so that now we leave a little more space for the inshore people? These are things that, as he said, we need to do a lot of consultations to be able to bring the law to speed on some of these things. The nets that are used, yes, there could be problems. They are supposed to fish at the bottom, but these are trawl nets. Trawl nets means that they are dragged along to catch the fish. So they may be laid at the bottom and dragged to catch the demersal fish, but as they are pulled up, they may also be catching these pelagics that are there. But now the question is about the quantum, the size, the numbers of the pelagics that are being caught now. What can be done? We can look at technology. We can look at putting in what we call square panels in the nets, so that as they are dragged, they don't squeeze up, because the net is like diamond shaped. So as you pull, they tend to stretch out a little bit and then close. So with the square panels in there, now as you drag, they stay open to allow the small ones to, you know, escape and retain the large fish. So there is a lot that has to be done. As he said, it's late, but we have to work at it and work at it very, very, you know, quickly.
I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I want to find out from Godfrey if there's any research. I mean, how many more years have we got with our fish stock? 10 years, 50 years,
yes.
Before we, you know, hit zero, and then we'll go to Cephas also and find out how the co-management is working. Don't go. Well, I told you that's going to be a very intriguing conversation, and I hope it's a conversation that has really, really started. And we are looking at the depleting fish sources. At the moment, we are importing about 50% of the fish we eat from other countries, and you want to ask, what are they putting in their seas that we don't have? Are their fishes more, you know, productive, you know, than ours? Are they more fertile than ours? How many more years have we got with our fish, Godfrey? If there's any research.
Yeah, I think I don't have a chart here, but there has been a very fast decline over, let's say, the past 40 years. There has been a very sharp, you know, decline. And if you look at that decline and where we are now, it means that we are very close to zero.
10 years? 20 years?
We are dealing with a natural resource, a renewable resource. And one thing about fish is that when they are pushed, you find them becoming smaller and breeding when they are small. So you may not get them completely wiped out. But now, because they are under pressure, you know, they don't produce good size fish for you. So we are very close.
I think when I say zero, to where there's no economic value.
Now we are there because, as he said, we don't have profitability in the industry.
So we are there.
I mean, he was talking about premix being subsidized, yet they are not making profit. So it is a business that in our parlance, we say we have gone beyond the maximum sustainable yield and the maximum economic yield. So it means that it is overdue for us to do
land. Diminishing returns
for us to, you know, take very concrete, very concrete, and then the actions should not be from one end, but from all the stakeholders. All the stakeholders.
One of the stakeholders is Cephas, who's joining us live on Skype. Cephas, how is this co-managerial thing working?
Yeah, thank you. Co-management in itself means collaborative management. That is a situation where you have fishermen, fish processors, the industry regulators, that's the ministry, and then the Fisheries Commission, working together to manage the fisheries resource. As it stands now, the sole responsibility rests on the ministry and the Fisheries Commission. And over the years, we've seen it's beyond their capacity because of the number of landing sites we have. We have over 300 landing sites straight from Aflao to Newtown, the Western region. And so to be able to effectively manage the fisheries resource, stakeholders need to be given some level of power at their local level, the local jurisdiction where they are, to begin to take action, sanctions irresponsible fishermen at their local level. And so that is the whole co-management. And so currently we are working with the Adan clam fishers to pilot this idea of co-management, where they are going to manage their resources. And so far, I can tell you it's been working well, because they are getting the understanding that if they do this right, it means plan for them tomorrow. And that is the same way we want to move this into the marine sector, to look at the fisheries, so that fishermen can manage this resource for them and their children. Because if we don't do that, we'll get to the point where there will be no fish at all. And as a matter of fact, some research has come out that if we continue with business as usual, by 2020, we'll get to a point where there will be no fishermen to harvest in the ocean. And so that is why it is critical that we need to now employ this approach that has been used elsewhere and has worked perfectly well. And so, working with the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and the Fisheries Commission, the idea is to pilot this and get fishermen own and take responsibility for the resource. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Let me find out from Juju. Is this something that the fisher folk would want to embrace?
Certainly. Like he rightly said, he ended with on a very good note that we need to take possession of our own destiny. You understand? We've gone past the era when we used to have the top dumping do's and don'ts on fishermen, because at the end of the day, no matter how many workshops or how many capacity buildings, everything we do, even the laws and the regulations, should transcend into the canoe, because it's the ordinary fisherman who is going to practice whatever laws, beautiful laws you've come up with. You understand? And therefore, there's the need to give space to fishermen for them to speak up. You understand? Let fishermen, we had the opportunity to go to the United States, and what we learned basically was that it was the fishermen who were in charge of their vocation, and they brought the do's and don'ts to be vetted up there. If there are some amendments to be made and sent back to them, and then they know that these are coming from us, they are sustainable, and therefore we need to comply because we have. But most of the time, you see Mr. Tibu and his Marine Police and Navy people coming after us. You understand? And we've gone past that. So I believe that we need fishermen would have to be given room to be part of decision making that affects them, and that is the only way they would appreciate and then voluntarily comply.
See, like how the market women have the market queens, and they control their own affairs. I mean, I don't know. Within the fishing franchise,
we have it. I mean, we started before the market women. That's why we have the chief fisherman and his elders, and we have the konkohimas and their elders, and you see, but for political interferences, right now, every chief fisherman is even afraid to speak up, because you realize that they are party functionaries and they have gone into premix, they've gone into the vocation itself. I'm waiting for the day when they will also come and pick up our canoes and go and fish for us. When we go there and we don't get fish, they should be interested in us landing fish too. If they're interested in our premix, you understand? As party functionaries, and I repeat it, as party functionaries, if they're interested in our premix, they should be interested in our catches too. You understand? And therefore, party functionaries or politicians should please give us a break so that we can think and act upon our own decisions.
I know you mentioned it, that the way forward now is multi-party come together and then moving forward. But in moving forward, what are you going to do? Stop some people from fishing? As safe as saying, look, maybe a month break or something. But I mean, from where we are, it looks like you have to do something really drastic, bite a very big bullet. What is it going to be?
Yeah, fortunately, we have been able to put together a management plan for the marine sector. And in all this, we consulted with the, fishermen, our key stakeholders, and the goal is to, rejuvenate the stocks. Among the things we want to do include close seasons, capping.
And in close seasons, you won't let the trawlers come? Because
so far we've
very
done,
annoyed if they are sitting at home.
So far we've been able to do 3 consecutive close seasons with the trawlers, because we can easily monitor them because of the VMS. Now we want to extend it to the entire fleet, because you do it for part of the fleet, and the rest of the fleet are also fishing. And with the artisanal, the numbers are also very huge. So it means that whereas we're able to close for trawlers, the artisanal also fish, we don't actually see the impact. So now the thinking is we must extend it to everyone. But then we need a lot of consultations, because if you can imagine a fisherman not fishing for a month, it means a lot. But as you said, we've got to a point where we have to actually bite the bullet. Now we are very sick, to the extent that now the doctor does so many things with us. Whether we like it or not, the doctor has to do it. And if we go through it for a while, we get well and we get better. And that is how we must go. But because we are dealing with fishermen, fishermen, and for that matter, livelihoods, we need a lot of consultations. We need a lot of input from not only fisheries, but from other sectors to support, what we want to do as far as, the interventions that we have to put in place.
Safers, Safers. Hello, have I got Safers? Safer. I wanted to find out, within a minute, what the way forward will be for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, the critical thing will be for us to be able to stop the saiko practice. Because that in itself is depriving artisanal fishermen.
Okay, the line is quite bad there. So
fish.
Okay, so let me come to you. This saiko thing, I think, is a very important thing that we must touch on, because it's the same artisanal fishermen who go and buy the fish.
Yes, it is a very sensitive issue, very, very sensitive, and therefore it's like you want to stop a tree from growing, right? You don't cut it. If you cut it, to grow again. So you need to uproot it. Therefore, for me, I don't want us to talk about even the saiko people themselves. It is about the activity of the bigger trawlers, because they capture the target fish meant for fishermen and give them to the bycatchers. So it's like the thief and the one who buys stolen goods. If there's no thief, there's no stolen goods for a buyer. Therefore, for me, if we're all going to do right, it is for the bigger trawlers to go out there and then do what they have been licensed to do, trawl the bottom. You understand? I don't think that after trawling and you decide to haul your net along a catches sardinelles, that's out of the way, because how many target fish will enter the net? They're literally doing 100% target fish, and for us it is very insulting. And then for bigger fishing communities like Elmina, Apam, and then under their watch they are not getting fish, and then these excuse me to say, these bigger trawlers are landing their catch January to December 24/7. I mean, who will be happy seeing? You understand? So for me, I don't want us to touch on somebody's livelihood or vocation. But what we are saying is that do that which is right.
Say first, I think you touched on this sensitive subject, so let me hear your take on it.
Yes, thank you very much. I was saying for me, it will be critical for
Okay, I think the line dropped there again. But one thing I suspect is a bit of trust issues, and you need to. I think Godfrey, that have to come. You have to really assure these guys that once we meet and you say we should do A, you will let the bigger boys also comply.
Yeah, we are doing our best as much as possible. We've put in place so many measures to be able to deal with the bigger trawlers. One thing we must recognize is that, yes, these are also Ghanaian-owned vessels.
We have 20 seconds to
But then we must ensure that they fish within the limits of the law. And these are things that the Commission now is paying very much attention. We have placed observers on board the vessels, and then all the other things that I've mentioned are in place now. And whoever flouts the law, we will arrest and then deal with. There are others we have already arrested and we are dealing with, and we hope that as it continues, we'll be able to put a stop to that.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
I hope this conversation won't end here. Clearly, you know, a nice video will be shown, so that would come and shake the system a bit. But after the system has been shaken, we need to come back here because there are 2 million, literally 2 million, livelihoods at stake here, and it's one that we shouldn't take lightly at all. Probably even bigger than what Galamsey was threatening to do. Let me say congratulations to Akoman Secondary School for winning the best performing school in arts. Congratulations. But tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, on Thursday, we're back to do this all over again. Tomorrow's Hard Truth. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you, gentlemen, for battling this hard fight.